Hello, my name is Richard Keegan-Ball.
I'm Irene Tuffrey-Wijne.
My name is Leon Jordan and welcome to this webinar.
Very welcome indeed to this webinar. We are researchers at Kingston University, and thank you to the PCPLD Network for hosting this. We're sitting here in our brand new office. We've just moved into a new office 2 months ago. Shall we show them?
Yes.
Show them around.
Yeah.
Let's just show them our nice new office. So here we are. Oh, there's Andrea. Oh, there's Joe. Joe. And we're sitting here. We've done. We're coming towards the end of a research study into how to involve people with learning disabilities in end-of-life care planning. You may well have seen the previous webinars. Both of you has helped me present other webinars about the work we've been doing so far around developing resources and guidance really around how we can involve people with learning disabilities in end-of-life care planning. So let's just look at an overview of what we've done so far. So we started off last year with finding out all the resources and all the guides, all the easy read materials, for example, that are already out there around end-of-life care planning with people with a learning disability.
We then started running focus groups with people that have actually learning disabilities, professionals, and families to get their reactions, their opinions of what they thought about what's already out there.
That's right. And then we worked together.
We worked together with the All Together group to come up with some pictures and tools. Yes.
Yeah. So lots of work we've done so far. We're going to just show you a short video of this All Together group, the group that worked together to co-produce these resources. And then we're going to spend the next hour really looking at these resources and telling you how you might use them. To use the chat, for the Q&A rather, write down your questions or your comments. We are sitting here monitoring those, looking at them, and we'll have 10-15 minutes or so at the end to answer them and to have a further discussion with you. So do let us know what you think whilst watching this webinar.
You sort of say what I want from happy up now, feel help.
Well, it's a bit too much, really.
Yeah, I would probably chuck that in the bin,
Yeah,
but I don't understand what organ donation means.
We felt like it's put pressure, so you must have a feeling for this person.
I probably wouldn't use that.
That was a good point, wasn't it? Very high. Shall we ask Andrea to explain a little bit more?
Yeah. Andrea's going to explain a little bit more about the resources and the pictures what we did. Yes.
And also what we came up with, and how we as a team came up with these new tools and resources to help the conversation be started.
Yeah, because it's a bit different from what we thought we'd end up with, wasn't it? And so it's useful to just hear why that was and how we did that. So let's send over to Andrea.
Thank you so much, Irene, Richard, and Leon. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Altogether group. So let's start with who is the Altogether group. We had 5 people with learning disabilities in the group. Then we had 5 family members of people with learning disabilities helping us out. We had 5 staff in learning disability services. And those services were our collaborators, Dimensions, and MacIntyre. And the staff members in our group, they were either support workers or service managers. And lastly, we had 5 healthcare professionals as well. And they were either doctors working in palliative care or nurses working in hospices, or they were learning disability nurses. So we had a lot of people helping us out to create this end-of-life care planning toolkit. So the Monday group was the group with people with learning disabilities, and they met in person on Mondays for the whole day for 5 hours, and they ended up testing a lot of materials that we found in our scoping review, and we have another webinar about that if you want to hear more. And then they ended up working mostly with funeral planning. So we did a lot of focus groups, and we found out that end-of-life care planning is both about planning your funeral and also planning your care at the end of life, and we call that illness planning. But the only problem with illness planning is that it's really difficult to do that in advance, and our group members, they weren't ill, so they couldn't really make those decisions or make those plans early. So we ended up having them doing funeral planning, which is a thing that you can do at any time point throughout your life. So that became sort of their main task, was to try and figure out how we can do that in the best way possible. And then we had the first day group, and they met online on Zoom for 2 hours, and they ended up mostly discussing different approaches to how to plan. And they thought about illness planning, which is a bit more complex, a bit more abstract. And they also discussed how to do planning with people with severe and profound learning disabilities. So people who might not use speech as a way of communicating. So we wanted to discuss how to plan to do end-of-life care planning with them in the best way possible as well. So we ended up having 6 sessions with these groups, and actually the Monday group ended up having an extra session because they had so much stuff to do, so many things to test. So we asked them to come in an extra time to do some more work with us. And then we had a really nice celebration event back in October where we looked at the final toolkit and all the hard work that we did together. So let's have a little bit of a look at what we actually did, and in particular what we did with the Monday group. So they looked at easy read forms. You saw that in the video just before. And as you heard in that video, they were very long, so many pages, complicated language, just a bit overwhelming really. So kind of early on doing this project, we realized that we probably shouldn't be doing more easy read forms because there were quite a lot out there, and none of them was really good. And then we tried something about putting up our life story on a washing line. We learned from some of the research into how to do end-of-life care planning with people with severe and profound learning disabilities, that's how you live your life, and we also saw that in the focus group, can actually feed into how you want your end of life to be. So we tried to see a little bit about how a life story might be helpful. Then we tried talking maths, and that was really a big success. So people really loved it. It was visual, it was easy. It was such a simple way to get through a lot of topics, a lot of questions, quite quickly. So with talking mats, you have these 3 cards at the top, which is basically almost like a yes, not sure, or no. And you use that to then put smaller pictures onto a mat. And then you might say if you want to plan these things, or whether these things are important to you, and then quite quickly you open up a conversation, but you also get through these different icons in a nice way, and people really enjoyed that. So we're really inspired about this approach. Then we tried something also quite visual, which was something that we called a fold-out funeral plan. Only problem is that we thought it was a great idea. It was visual, it had spaces to write, and people could draw, people could cut out different options for their funerals. And the only problem was that the group didn't really like it. We had only one person trying it out. It wasn't a success. So we need to do something differently. And this really taught us how important it was to have this group really helping us out. Otherwise, we might have ended up with a fold-out funeral plan that actually people didn't really like. And as you saw in the video, we tried to use funeral pictures, so simple pictures of different scenarios from a funeral, where you can use that as a conversation starter, what people think about funerals, have they been to funerals, and again, using pictures was really a good way to open up the conversation, and also how much you can learn from just having this conversation. So based on testing a lot of stuff, we ended out with an end-of-life care planning toolkit that included resources for funeral planning. And these were Let's Talk About Funerals pictures and My Funeral cards. And for illness planning, we ended up with When I'm Ill cards and a book beyond words that's called Am I Going to Die? And in this webinar, we'll tell you more about the Let's Talk About Funerals, My Funeral cards, and When I'm Ill cards, because those were the resources that we developed or further developed. So yeah, let's go back to the team and hear more about these resources.
Thank you for that, Andrea. I will now hand you over to my colleague, Richard.
Thank you, my colleague Leon. Right, now we're going to look at the pictures for planning illnesses.
Okay, let's have a look.
So that's just the pictures, and now we're going to show you one resource of what Joe and I did of how to use the cards.
Do you want to choose the next cards that we look at together? Which would you like to look at? So, okay. So these are about where you want to be
Right,
really ill. Okay, so this one,
hospital.
yeah, it's about going to hospital. So how would you feel if, you know, with your illness that you've got, if you had to go into hospital, how would you feel about that, Richard?
I think I feel a bit nervous about it, I would, because hospitals aren't very nice places, they're not.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think I'd be a bit worried if I went in there, who would look after me, you know, where would I be, and would my support worker company, would you be able to come with me into the hospital?
So what would be okay about going into hospital? Is there anything that would be okay about going into hospital?
Well, no, I don't think so. No, I really would be quite stressed about going to the hospital. I would,
Okay.
yes. Because lots of things. Because sometimes they have a bit of funny smell inside the hospital. They do.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the people would be like in there. I guess what would be good if I was allowed to have a television to be able to watch my programs that I like to watch, yes.
Okay.
And if the doctor explained to me what's going to happen and all that, yes. Could speak to me in an easy language to tell me what they're going to do and all that.
Is there anything that you want to add or change with any of those under how it would feel for you to go? Anything good? Anything bad?
Yeah, but would they give me something to eat in the hospital?
They would give you something to eat, yes.
And some drinks to drink?
Yes.
Yes.
So shall I write that down? That's
Yes,
something
yeah.
you're worried about?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And it would be good to talk to the vicar maybe in the church and in the hospital.
Okay.
Just to have someone just to talk to.
So I hope you found that interesting and useful. What was interesting to us was noting how important it was to stress that the cards for illness planning are not used to make specific yes, no, black, white choices. So you'll have noticed that Jo didn't ask you, Richard. She didn't say, do you want to be at home or do you want to be in hospital? And that's because that may well be a choice that is a little bit out of your hands.
Yes.
It depends so much on what is wrong with you, on the context, on what is available, on why you might need to go into hospital. So it's quite difficult to make that kind of choice in advance. And therefore, what you'd use the illness cards for is to write down and to think about and to talk together about what is easy and what is good and what is difficult about being in hospital, so that when the time comes to make that specific choice, you base it on really what the person would want and what they would cope with. And you can begin to see where people's red lines are, you know, and whether the benefits of going into hospital outweigh the disadvantages. And so you do the same with the other cards. You do the same with, you know, what would it be like for you? What would it be like for you, Leon, to be helped in the shower? You don't have to answer that now, but that's the kind of question that we would ask with those cards, so that you can really begin to understand what the issues are. What's it actually like for the support worker to have to help you in the shower? You know, they might not be used to that. So these are important things to think about together. Shall we look at the funeral planning resources?
Yes, I think we should.
So let's just have
plans now.
that's because that's a completely different topic really we've discovered, isn't it? That's why we separated them out. So these are the new pictures we commissioned from Books Beyond Words, because as we've seen in the All Together group, we wanted more. They were really, really helpful in getting conversations going and getting people to start talking about funerals and anything related to that. So let's just watch these wonderful new pictures. They were created by Beth Webb.
which we think are really good. And my colleagues now will show you one of the ways that they can be used.
Okay, because these were, we think these pictures are wonderful, weren't they? They're really, really, you know, when
really fantastic. And that's what, that's the message we wanted to send. The message has to be crystal clear and sharp and easy to use.
Yeah, and that's what we did in the group, wasn't it? We asked Books Beyond Words specific questions about, you know, please do us a good picture of a cremation, for example.
Yes.
And a cheer went up in the group when we
did.
saw these pictures.
Yes,
you know, really,
did,
people were so.
People so impressed and liked them. They did.
Yeah. So we hope you like them too, and you'll find them useful. And Leon and Richard and you and your colleagues Amanda and David have recorded and to show you just a couple of different ways in which you could use the pictures. Yeah. Shall we watch that video now?
Yes, absolutely.
This card is about, let's talk about planning, let's talk about funerals, and that
you can actually pick any picture you like. Ready? You can pick a picture and you can go through it with your support worker.
Which one would you pick, Amanda? The wrong way round for you.
I would pick this one because it shows them digging a hole and doing a memory tree about the person that they loved, and it's a really nice reminder.
I like this picture to talk about because that if you want to be buried, you can in fact, because you can decide whether you want to bury or whether you want to be cremated, and it shows who you want to have there and who you don't want to have there, and that like it's the mum and dad there, and that you can be casual or you can be or you can wear black, yes.
What I see is a funeral service, and here in this scene, one of his relatives or friends has a picture of him with a football in his hand because he loved football. He played football at one point, and football meant a lot. They are honouring his memory and his life, and they are celebrating it as best they can, and they're using his legacy and his life to honour and keep them not only in their mind but in their heart.
These pictures was really good to start conversations because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, each picture had lots of things in them, didn't they, that we could talk about, yeah. We've also made some picture cards, didn't we?
Yes, we did, and these picture cards use the same principles to start conversations about funeral planning and what that might entail.
Yeah, and then they're a little bit simpler, so that you can use them a bit more clearly for actually making and recording choices or recording ideas you have about specific aspects of a funeral.
Yeah, and also again, Richard, the more simpler the cards are used, the more easier it is to start the conversations.
Yeah, so let's have a look at them now. Let's have a look at those pictures. And they were created the same as the illness pictures, and they were made by Grace Barnes, who is a graduate of Kingston University School of Art.
And here are some examples of how they can be used.
Yeah, and it's actually really lovely to see David and Amanda, our colleagues, who are not at work today, so they're not here today to help present this webinar. But it's nice to see them in the video. So let's see if I can see their demonstration of using some of these cards.
these funeral cards so you can talk about choices that you want to make or what you want to do at your funeral. How
people can remember me.
Is that something you want to talk about, David?
Yes, it is, yes. Can you write for me?
Of course I can, David, yes. So what shall I write on it here? Have you got ideas how you want to be remembered, David? Have you?
Yeah, I would like to be remembered with a plaque.
With a park?
Oh, plaque.
Plaque, yes. So, yeah, that's all right, yes.
I could go to the park.
Yes. Okay. It won't be spelled. Okay, I've got that on there, yes.
Yeah,
And what else would you like?
I would like a plaque to remember me in that way, so you know people can visit, put flowers or whatever they want to put down.
Mm-hmm. So did you want to have a bench so people can sit down and remember you?
Yeah, but see, with a bench, it does what, doesn't it?
It does.
It goes.
Yes,
You
yeah.
know, and the plaque also discolours or something, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, because of the weather and everything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind like a rose bush or, you know, something like that.
Also, having a bench, but the birds can come along and poop on it, they can, yes.
I knew you were going to come out with something.
Yes.
Right, well, I look forward to the David Jeffrey Memorial Park.
Yeah.
That's it, park.
So Amanda, shall we talk about your funeral, about what you like and what you wouldn't like at your funeral? Yes. How about this, a car?
No, I would like four black horses and my coffin to be like on a carriage.
Amanda wants to go like the Queen. Yes. Okay, I would. We'll keep that one safe for you all for now, yes.
So that was just a few different ways in which you can use these pictures and these cards. I hope that's useful, and I'm really interested to hear from you how you would be getting on with those cards and how you can get involved. We'll tell you in a moment. But first of all, we've asked the Altogether group, both the groups that you are in and the group of managers and families and support workers, to give their top tips about using these resources for end-of-life care planning, but also for how you can get it right, how you can talk to people. Remember that we all sat together and recorded that. So let's just look at the top tips from our Altogether group.
In part for me, it's about relationship. I mean, I wouldn't want a complete stranger talking to me about end-of-life death. So for me, it's about relationship. It's about being patient. It's about the tone of voice that you use, your body language. But for me, most importantly, it's about allowing space. So it's not a rushed, and that if somebody needs time to, to pause, to process, that they've got the space and the time to do that.
This is about the consistency of the staff, because if you're somebody that we support as such, they're bound to trust they're bound to open up more, etc., to people they've got a more close relationship with, if you know what I mean, rather than just somebody that they don't know, like an agency member of staff. So it's also about using their preferred communication methods, and also if you are that staff, that consistent member of staff, you're going to know when is a good idea to kind of broach this subject and when it isn't.
I think my top tip for the support team would just be to kind of go with the flow and know when to stop and when to continue, and also, you know, to realise it's okay if they get upset as well or something affects them, and that they can build on that with the person they're supporting to get the information from. It's not a bad thing to get upset, because I think people worry a lot that it's going to upset somebody, but if they do get upset and they, you know, they start talking about somebody maybe they've lost, to kind of, you know, work with that. I don't mean in an insensitive way, but I think that opens a lot of opportunities at that time, so not to be afraid if it does upset somebody.
I think one thing just to get across to the people who'd be doing the work, the staff, the supporters doing the work, is this is an ongoing process. So as important as active listening is and recording wishes and values, there's a bit on staff to actually be a bit creative. People don't know what they don't know. If you have a very closed choices, you mentioned burial cremation is often the standard one. People will make an either or choice. There's often more to it than that. There's understanding what people's attitude is towards it. We had one course, for example, where somebody a candidate had purchased a mushroom death suit. Has anybody heard of those? Google it. They're awesome. I want one. People don't know what things are. So sometimes you have to understand what people's values are.
I think the big thing is it's okay to ask a question where you might not know the answer, and it's okay to say, I don't know. And it's actually better to say, I don't know, but I'll try and find out, than to try and make up the answer. Because I can see quite a few of the choices people will either go, oh, well, I can't ask that because I won't know how to support them when they say what they do want, or we'll actually then sort of try and blag it and make up the answer. And so I think really important to just emphasize, ask the question, get down what's important to them about their thoughts about it, but then actually, if you don't know, say you don't know, and work out a plan to find out or look into the answers.
So my top tips would be make sure you're familiar with the resources, that you know the pictures really well and you've thought about them and the questions they may throw up. Pick a time and a place that suits the person and that suits yourself, when there's plenty of time and a calm space. Be led by the person you support. What do they want to talk about rather than what you want to know? Record things very tactfully, but make sure you record it. At the end of the conversation, try to recap what you've talked about and try to finish on a positive note, really acknowledging what the person has said. And if possible, make a plan for what you're going to do next. And if you need to debrief yourself, find somebody to debrief to. That would be my top tips.
Hey.
And now, what's next?
We would like you to be involved.
That's you, yes?
You to be involved, yes.
So you can help us try, because we're now getting to the final stage of this project, which is trialing them in real life, and you are real life. So if you want to help us trial these pictures, I'm just handing you over to Sarah, who is another one of our colleagues, telling you how you can get involved and how you might help us trialing these.
Oh, thanks, Irina. Yeah, I'd love to tell you about how you can trial our When I'm Ill cards, and let's talk about funeral pictures and my funeral cards. You can really help us here. So we're trialing the cards now. So if you're ready to try and have some supported conversations with people with learning disabilities, or with people with learning disabilities, friends and families, about being ill or about their wishes and plans and ideas around funerals, perhaps finding out who the important people are in their lives or what the important things are in their lives, which will help them in these areas, then you can be part of trying these cards. You can be one of the testers in our study, and you'd be part of the first group of people in the world to try out these pictures and cards. And we really need, as Irene said, people like you to try out for us and give us your feedback on how it goes. We want to know how it goes for you. We want to know how you use the cards, how they work for people with learning disabilities and their friends and families as you talk through the topics. So if you think you might like to take part in this next part of our research as a tester, using our cards and pictures, it would have to be over the next couple of months. Please get in touch with me. So I'm Sarah Gibson. I will send you a research participant information sheet, which tells you about the Victoria Stuart Project, what we've done so far, and about your part in the study. And I'll send you an electronic sign-up form, and you can tell me who you are, a little bit about the person or people that you might want to use the cards and pictures with. And then you can sign up using that form. And once you're signed up, I'll then email you the pictures and the cards and some guidance that we've produced that we'd love you to look at, that gives you more information, like these videos that we've had in this webinar, to just help you to think about how you might use those cards and pictures with people that you're working with and talking with. And then I'll also send you, very importantly, our how did it go form, because we want you to tell us anonymously a little bit about yourself, who you used the cards and pictures with, and what you did, or which pictures you used, and how it went. So if you can help us to test out the cards and pictures, or you've got any questions about doing this, do get in touch with me by email. My email is s.l.gibson@kingston.ac.uk, or you can look at our website, victoriaandstuart.com, for a link to that participant information sheet and the sign-up form. And then once this trial of the pictures is finished, we'll take all of your feedback, we'll write about it, and we'll use it to just update, make any changes that might be needed to our final set of cards and pictures. And we'll then be able to put them freely onto the internet and make them available for anyone at the end of this project who might want to use these pictures. And we've already excitingly heard from people that are working with people with dementia, people who are working with children that might want to talk about funerals and hospitals and things like that, who we think our pictures are going to be useful to lots of different people. But help us to trial them out. Get in touch with me, fill in the online form, read about our study, tell us how it went using the How Did It Go form, and then we'll have our final sets of pictures free for everyone to use across the world. Thanks for your help. Looking forward to hearing from you. Bye.
So I hope you found that interesting, and that's all we wanted to present to you today, but I can see there's loads and loads of comments and questions in the Q&A. So we've got about 10 minutes now where we can look at some of those questions. So one of the questions, a couple of the questions were around how on earth do you start these conversations and how can you use the pictures to start them? And we were talking about that just now, how you, I mean, this is a toolkit, and a toolkit is jargon, but these are things to help you and to support your conversations, but still that's got to do it, right? And a hammer is only as good as the person hammering, banging it, exactly. So we will provide a guide. So in our final toolkit, there will be a guide that tells you and that gives you some tips about starting. I mean, what would your tips be, Richard, about how people might, or when people might start to talk about funerals or?
Or if there's a television program or something what comes on, and that they've got a funeral, someone's quite poorly in it, that that's a good way of maybe thinking about your funeral, starting to think about things like that, about having a conversation afterwards. Yes.
Yeah. So just using opportunities like that, and of course these, you know, these pictures and cards, the first thing you often do is just to talk about funerals in general. And if you use the pictures or the cards or any conversation just to have a chat about funerals without sort of having in your head that you want to plan it, that's important. The key thing really is to be guided by what the person wants to talk about rather than what you want to know. So, I mean, some people have been worrying, and there's a question from Louise about not just how you approach it, but would introducing those conversations make people worry perhaps that, you know, that they might be ill or that they might be going to die? And again, I would say here that, I mean, you know the person, right? You know what the person is like, what they're, you know, how they might respond to pictures. What would you say to Louise?
Or just to have a natural conversation with them, and that, like I say, if something comes up on the television or something, that's a good way of maybe just breaking into it. Or if you go out for a walk with them, you know, say, oh, what do you think? And you know, just be natural with them, just talk normally to them. Yes.
Yeah. And I suppose the other thing to say is that the when I'm ill cards, so thinking about what you might want or not want, what your choices and preferences might be in the last days or weeks or months of your life. That was quite hard for our group to think about ahead, wasn't it? To think about in advance. And so we really want we think that those cards will be most useful for people for whom those questions become relevant. So either they're getting older or frail, or they might be approaching the end of life. And those pictures, as you may have noticed, they're not so much about dying. There isn't very much about dying in there. It was quite important for our groups to frame those questions about what you want when you're alive, when you're still alive. How would you want to live your last weeks, days and months of life? So that's quite important to think about it that way. So, but these are difficult questions, and hopefully there will be some guidance, but we're also really interested to hear from you how you might use them and how you might get on. So, for example, one of the questions was, somebody said, I'm working with people who are entering the end of life because of their physical health. Could you use the when I'm ill cards for this? And so, for example, asking people where they'd want to be, if they prefer to be at home or in hospital, if it's an infection that might be treated at home. So I would put that question back to you. I'd be interested to see whether you think you might use those pictures for that. I mean, you can try it out, you know, showing the cards of hospital and home, and possibly the one with the drip, because there's, you know, infections and often treated like that. And just talking people through what it would be like to be in hospital to be treated, or what it would be like to be at home, and you'll get a sense then, hopefully, of, you know, what their choices and their preferences might be. So I hope that helps. There are also lots of questions about other pictures. Somebody said, might be the pictures be made for other faiths? And we talked a lot about the pictures about religion, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And we tried all sorts of things about to show people or to help people to think about different religions. And that was quite difficult because there are so many different religions.
There is, yes. Well, that's it. There's people who's Catholic, go to church, England, go to mosques, go to Hindus, and yeah, that's
And that was a dilemma we had, because we could only have a limited number of pictures, partly because of cost, clearly, and development, but also we don't really want to overwhelm people with, you know, with so many pictures to choose from. It was the same actually with deciding what to put in the when I'm ill cards, all the different possibilities and options of treatments and things that are places you might want to be, or people that might be around. There are so many possibilities. So what we're hoping these pictures will do is to help you open up conversations about that. So the religion picture we have and faith one is, I don't know if it went by quite quickly, but we have one where it shows 3 different types of religious buildings, and we found that when we tried this, people would then come up with with another religion that they are missing, and you can talk about it that way. But clearly we are trialing this out, and if there is a demand and a real desire for different kinds of pictures, then we want to hear about that, because we might be able to, you know, to produce some more. So, but this project ends in about 4 months, and that's also when the money runs out. So there is clearly, hopefully, follow-up work to be done to see how this works and whether that is useful and whether people want to develop them more. But I think first we'd really want to see whether this approach and using this kind of, you know, this kind of approach is useful. So that brings me to a question by Jane, who says, the group found talking mats really useful. So is there going to be more work with that? And the answer to that is that we have put talking mats in the toolkit with some guidance and a link to where to use them. We couldn't develop any more of those because it's quite a specific standalone organisation that makes their own pictures, but they have developed pictures around end-of-life care and funeral planning, which we tried and which we found helpful. So we are, you know, really hoping that people will also look at those because they really were very nice, very good to use. So another person said, well, Leon and Richard, a question for you. Somebody called Lou said, wants to know from you, did you feel sad talking about death and illness, and did the people in the group feel sad? And if so, how did we make it fun for you? Sounds terrible, it's strange to say fun when we talk about death, but did it make you feel sad? Did it make people feel sad?
It did make people feel sad a little bit talking about it, and but we also, well, not that you can really talk about death and dying happily, but we do some fun things in the group, like we sing and dance, we do, and we put on funny wigs, we do, yeah. So you know, but so you can see that we like to dress up a bit, we do, yeah. Yeah, we have a bit of a dance, we do, you know.
We want to get my hat now.
Yeah.
I'm here. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So yes.
So, but it is important. How about you, Leon? Did you feel sad thinking about death and dying?
In the beginning, it did make me feel sad because I hadn't really thought about death and dying since my grandfather died, but I knew eventually I would have to confront that. I just didn't know how to, and then I thought to myself that death is the end of your physical self, but not your spiritual self. And by that I mean, yes, our physical selves die, but our spiritual and souls don't. They go to a place that's much higher than we can ever possibly imagine. And if you believe in reincarnation, which I deeply do, our soul gets sent back to Earth in another form.
So we talked a lot. So it really, you can see how much it made people think, and there were those kinds of conversations in the group. There was sadness. I mean, I think all of us at some point cried in the groups. You know, there were times when people shared sad stories, but in a way that was also really rather beautiful that we could do together. And as I say, then we
got people to open up a bit and to talk about their stories and about that. When people have died close to them, yes.
Yeah. So I think I'm just looking at the time, and we realised that there's so many more questions about how these pictures did open up conversation. So it made me laugh looking at you, Richard, with your new hairdo.
Yeah.
So, but it really didn't help people open up conversations, and it was interesting that the group that you were in with people with a learning disability really welcomed the open and clear way in which we could depict and do images for the funerals, for the cremation picture, for example. that was actually also quite difficult for the people without learning disabilities in the group, the families, the care staff, etc., to look at, and it helped all of us to really think about talking about death and dying and funerals. So I think that's all we're going to have time for, though, because we only got 4 minutes left, and I do have some final things to say. So thank you to my co-sharers. I just want to say a huge thank you to all of my team. Several are sitting here in the office and are here behind the scene. And so do go on our website and follow the links, and hopefully you'll be able to get involved in trialing these pictures as well. We also have a whole group of other groups. So thank you to the All Together group. Thank you to everybody who's been involved, to all our collaborators, and particularly also a huge thank you to the PCPLD Network, the Palliative Care for People with Learning Disabilities Network. If you don't know about this network, go onto the website. Coming soon, though, there is going to be a change of logo and also a change of website, including web address. So here is a new logo, just for us to get used to it. And the new web address will be announced as soon as we have it, and it will still be there on the old website if you get confused. So keep an eye on that. It's palliative care for people with learning disabilities. One thing we do, so we've got a website with information and resources. We also run, well, as a competition is the wrong word, but we invite nominations for the Linda McIntyre Award, and nominations are now open. So that is if you know any sort of person, team, organizations, groups who've done some outstanding end-of-life care for an individual, or who have done projects that really improve helped things. And the winners, the nominations end on the 12th of January, and the winners will be announced sometime in the spring. And interestingly, Victoria and Stuart were both previous winners of that award. So Victoria, there were people who really had outstanding end-of-life care, people with learning disabilities, and their families and friends really helped them. So then finally, on our website, the PCPLD Network, I have to make a plea to you. Thank you for those of you who have already donated by coming to this webinar. We really, really need donations, and it is a serious plea because we do not have any source of income. And if we don't get more donations, then I think the money will probably run out for the PCPLD Network in about a year's time. So I don't really want us to close. It's a wonderful organisation that brings people together. So please consider looking at that and donating. This webinar is recorded and will be available on YouTube. And if you've attended, you can go to the website to download a certificate of attendance. And then finally, I can announce our next webinar from the PCPLD Network, and that will tell you more about Stuart Hassler, who is one of the 2 people that this project was named after. We've had Victoria's story already, and that webinar was recorded and is available on YouTube, but Stuart's story will be on the 1st of February at 12:30. So you will get more information about that, and do sign up because his end of life is inspirational. Thank you very much for watching that. That's the end of this webinar. So Stuart Hassler, look out for him. In the meantime, get in touch with us, get in touch with Sarah. You should have her details by now if you want to have access to these pictures and help us to trial them. We really haven't got hard and fast rules about how you should use them. We've got tips, we've got suggestions, but we really don't know how or whether this will work. And so we need to hear that from you. And the more of you are able to help us with even just testing one picture with one person, it would be wonderful. So thank you to Richard and Leon, and goodbye, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.